few of these things that the Sassanians propose, but also knowing your history. It says you should know your religion, but you should know your history, the past. And that is something important. So you should know your history. Okay, if you ask why, you should take history class. So, what happened with the Muslim conquest in the 7th century? Well, there's continuity. I hope I've tried to show. This one is from Khan, close to Ray. This is an early Islamic sort of palace stucco. Shows like someone with a glorious Red with the diadem, looks very Sassanian. How could you say that this is Islamic? This boundary is really unclear. It's not clear at all. And there is link in the what we call Islamic period with the ancient or the late antique period. And so this artificial boundary should be removed, I think. I want to show you Khosrow, the first, right? Probably. And this is just an imaginary, I think, maybe of Harun al-Rashid, the caliph, right? In the 8th century, probably 8th century. 8th century and 6th century. Caliph, Sassanian king, pre-Islamic, Islamic, right? These two people had more in common than this gentleman did with Ardashir. Okay? That is, culturally, they're much more closer to each other than the early Sassanian period, or what we did. Now, so Al-Rashid was born in Ray. You should remember that. His son was born in what? Mashhad, Khorasan? Pardon me? Thank you, but I think it could be, right?
Which son?
Oh, Mahmoud. I like Mahmoud. One out. Not that, Mahmoud. That's true. So they're part of this Iranian war, right? We know from some of the practices, in fact. And now there's been a couple of good works written on early Islamic culture. One by Dimitri Gutas, Arabic culture, Greek culture, Arabic thought. That these Abbasids tried to mimic everything that the Sassanians did. So first they had as many texts as they could translate into Arabic. We have from Jayas, an amazing book. How does the Sassanian king sleep? How did he eat? Who did he eat? If you eat with him, how should you eat? How should you sit? Who should be in front? Who should be a detailed knowledge? All of this is in Arabic. So one of these controversial questions that the Iranians get really emotional. The Arabs burned all of our books. Well, a lot of it was translated as well. Okay? And that became the cultural norms that the Abbasids tried to mimic in dress, food, and ideas. They wanted to just like the Sassanians behave. And that we have clear evidence. Now, the language becomes Arabic, so that becomes the language, more widespread. Expands. Fine. But culturally, quite still strong Iranian component. Jaya says that the Abbasids were an Iranian dynasty. The Arabs themselves thought that these people were. Okay? So next time when somebody says, oh, Islam, this is not part of us, all of these things is part of this Iranian identity. You can pick and choose if you like, but that all of this is part of it. Even the Mongols, we hear about these very bad Mongols who sacked Baghdad, destroyed libraries in the east. After they settled down, they're the ones who are the #1 promoters of the Persian language after the Samoans. And also, as Charles Melville tells me, professor of medieval history at Cambridge, one of the big proponents of Iran. So we begin to now get the term of an Iran, although it's not clear, but the idea survives. And they're the ones who are promoting it. Now the Safavids, who bring an added bonus of Shiism to Iran, not that Shiism didn't exist, but Shiism now becomes sort of a forced religion in some places, right? With Shah Ismail Safavi. By the time of Shah Abbas, which is the 5th, I'm not sure of the 5th Shah or not, we have now the titles of Shahriyar Iran, Shah Iran. The Safavids have revived the idea of being kings of Iran. Yeah, they're Shiis, but they also promote as their most important festival of the empire Nowruz in Shi'i Safavid Iran. And also revive another one that the texts call it Abrizan. This is probably the Zoroastrian festival where water is thrown on each other. The Shi'i Safavid ruler is promoting these things. Okay? because they associate this with part of this Iranian past that they want to continue. Wait, have I gone 45 minutes? Yes? I can cut right now. Let me just jump 2 more. That would have been pretty much my lecture. Let me show you just 3 more slides. Some of you who love the Achaemenid Empire, you know, Cyrus, Darius, what about those guys? Are they not Iranian? Usually in the study of the idea of Iran, the Sasanians are promoted as the first ones because there is textual evidence, but there's epigraphic on coins and inscriptions. I would say that there is an idea of Iraniyat, even in that key. I'm going to then, but say this. There's Mr. Daryaee the First, as you can see him on the screen, who in his inscription calls himself, in terms of ethnicity, Arya Kitha, of Aryan or good or noble race. Now, these people have an idea of race, okay, and lineage. That is in the remote past, not in 20th century Aryans, okay? That is not the real thing anymore. You can't transpose something from 2,500 years to the 21st century. He says in his inscription, at this passage 70, King Daryaee says, by the grace of Ahura Mazda, this is the inscription which I have made. Beside, it was in Aryan script. So there's an Aryan thumb, right? There's an Aryan sort of lineage. All of this exists, right, in that kingdom. Mr. Xerxes, who appeared in the movie 300, but he was looking a little bit different from this one. He says in Old Persian, Parsa, Farsahya, Husa, Arya, Arya, Chisa. A Persian, son of a Persian, Arya, Aryan, of Arya origin. So these ancient kings had a notion of ethnicity early on. Remember, they're before the Sasanians. Now, what is interesting, and this is the important slide for the Achaemenids, Daryaee, in his Basel inscription, the great inscription that he has left, says that this group of people, you see these people with the pointed cap, the Sakapudra, these sort of pointed cap Scythians, but I call them Sistanis. Scythians are basically the term Sistan comes from. He says in his inscription that the Scythians were persecuted. Now, aren't the Achaemenids this great empire, model of toleration, right? I mean, they have all sorts of people, and as far as we know, as long as you paid your taxes and you followed the king's law, you could do what you want. Not what you could, that is, your own tradition, you could follow it without a problem. That is actually a great model of ancient empires. Then why is he picking on the poor Sistanis in this inscription? Now, my answer is this. In his inscription, which is a trilingual inscription, Old Persian, Babylonian, and Elamite, when he comes to talk about Ahura Mazda, that is the Old Persian, I guess formally correct, it's Ahura Mazda. In Old Persian, it's Ahura Mazda. Its Elamite form has actually a parenthesis, we call it, and sort of isoglosses, a commentary. In Elamite, it says Ahura Mazda, God of the Aryas. And we get a sense that if you're from Sistan, that is, you're an Arya, you should worship a god associated with that tradition. So here we already are seeing some idea that if you're part of these Iranian people, you should also worship an Iranian deity. So the germination of an idea of an Iran is already forming, but not in the way the Sasanians have. And the way then it develops in the modern period. I want to skip the Parthians. And so while in antiquity, ethnicity, race, and language and religion is the important component, by the Sasanian times there is a shift to culture. It is culture by the 6th century that makes you an Iranian. So shift from race and language, from late Qajar, remember what happened with some of our intellectuals. And of course, today, if you're confused, that's fine, because there's confusion in terms of what an Iranian is. But all of these things are part of this Iranian identity. It depends who presses some parts of it more, and of course, there's always reaction. Thank you. Okay, If you haven't fallen asleep completely, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Your language of Persian being spoken after Cyrus the Great to modern day.
Yeah, but remember, they were using, when their inscriptions came, it was trilingual. Within the empire, they used
That's
Arabic.
what I wanted to ask, because I assume that during the Parthians, Greek had been replacing the Persian, since the first few inscriptions in Sassanids had Greek, like in the Kabe Zartosh. But after like the Nersi, which is the 6th king, I believe, the Paikuli inscription is only a bilingual. I think they got rid of Greek during the first 5 decades of the Sassanids. And I think it had been used in the official imperial level during the Hellenistic Parthians.
Iranians were never sticklers for language. I mean, we are stickler in the 20th century and 21st century, Persian language, right? Iranians have used more scripts and different languages throughout their history has been used than most other places. They've been quite lax about actually what script to use. So when Alexander conquers and the Seleucids come who are half Iranian, half Greek or Macedonians, right? The language becomes Greek. Fine. Then the Parthians ascend, okay, so you had Greek as a tradition, we'll use Parthian as well. The Sassanians come, well, they're Persian, so let's use Persian, Parthian, and Greek. Then the Muslims come. Initially we have some bilingual Arabic and Persian actually, Middle Persian. Then it becomes Arabic. And then the Turks come. So we have Turkish words intermediate. It's always been this sort of fluidity. I mean, the Persian language, again, Professor Nujumyan knows better. Modern Persian is a combination of a whole bunch of different languages. Kagaz is Swabian, right? Gerbere is a Khwarezmian word, right? Toman is probably the Mongols' probably. That's why this language is so, it's still surviving because it adapts. And the language, I think, suggests that are able to adapt. Those that don't are going to die out. So any of you want to speak Farsi Saturday, you don't speak Middle Persian, and I can do that for you, that's just not what it is all about. Okay, those languages don't survive. Good, please.
So, well, I have a lot of questions, but I'm just going to ask one for now. Back to the first question that you started your lecture with. If someone asks me what my accent is, like, or where my name comes from, or what my culture is, then should I say Persian or Iranian? But my understanding is that Iranian is my nationality, Persian is my ethnicity, something like that.
I don't know any Persian ethnicity. I speak Persian, but I never, something in Iran, I've never heard within Iran, those who speak Persian say, I'm Persian. I mean, regardless of good or bad with Reza Shaman, this country is called Iran, I'm from Iran. I'm Iranian. I speak Persian, but I could speak another language as well. Okay? This is in the West. Now, since 1979, it's been sort of mandated by some families, Iranian hostage crisis, Iranian revolution, Iranian Ayatollah, so you're Persian. Okay, and some people are from Persia, okay, which is something ancient. So, that's up to you. For you shouldn't follow me. The country's now been called Iran for 70, 80 years, right? I'm from Iran.
I say I'm from Iran too, but then if I'm referring to the culture, then...
It's an Iranian culture.
But then there's a lot of similarities between our culture and then other, like, neighboring countries that are not Iran, but they share the same Persian culture.
So in people who do languages and cultures, this Iranian culture was something beyond what is modern day Iranian nation state. So this Iranian world is all the way from Central Asia to parts of Iraq to the Caucasus, down all the way to parts of Oman. There are people who speak Omzad in Oman, right? But since this country was called now Iran in foreign sort of correspondences, all these other people start feeling a little bit uncomfortable, right? Afghans, which I like very much, that's part of this Iranian culture. But since Iran has changed its name from Persia to Iran, we've sort of taken all the juice, let's say, cultural juice from the Afghans. So they feel a bit uncomfortable. You see, changing names creates these very uncomfortable sort of identities. Okay? As a historian, and I'm not trying to be chauvinist, this is part of this greater Iranian world in terms of culture.
So let's say we want to associate ourselves as Iranians in the sense of the culture. So you are Iranian if you have Iranian culture. It's not racist.